Hi, good morning, and welcome to Childcare Challenges and Dilemma and Daycare. This morning we have this lovely young man join us. Chris, go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right, I'm Chris Barnes. I don't know what to say. Oh,
We know each other for a while, and I know some of you. I know your story, but I'd like for you to share your story with everyone else. I will let my listeners today, right? With dad, like
yeah.
what fathers go through in the system, as how the system is a single father and obtaining custody and how the system treats you and the struggle and the challenges that you face during those times.
Well, where do we start?
We could start by when you wanted the visitation. How was the visitation? You start pick
oh,
anyway from
um,
so
oh, it's so fun. This is a real crazy story, but as far as getting visitation, it took me almost 3, maybe 4 years to get my visitation happening. And that's because every time I'd go to court, somehow they'd either postpone the date or they throw my case out and I'd have to go reapply. And then, as far as getting the visitation, at one point, I was granted visitation and she still wasn't bringing them.
when she don't bring him, how did they handle that in her part?
When I first got visitation, I got supervised visitation.
Why was that?
That was the first thing they gave me was
Okay.
supervised visitation.
Okay.
So, she was not showing up for the visits. But what happened with that was she had a daughter when I met her.
Mm-hmm.
And I, over time, met the father, and we had a history of where I was delivering his daughter to him for his visitation. So this is why you gotta do good things. And this is why you can't always listen to somebody when they tell you how the ex was as far as, oh, he's a terrible person, this or that, this or that, the terrible person. In this case, it wasn't true. Now, I ran into her other son's father in front of the courthouse.
Mm.
So he just happened to be dealing with something with her in the courthouse. And, he was going for some type of paperwork or whatever. So I run into him, and me and this man have a conversation,
Mm.
a good conversation for a while. I told him what's going on with me, with
Right.
my student. And, due to the fact that I was delivering his daughter to him, and, I never got in the middle of that. You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
never got in the middle of that because my man was a gentleman. You know what I'm saying? He didn't come out there huffing and puffing, wanting to fight, doing all kind of stuff. He did his thing legally and he kept himself at a certain level. So, I just did the right thing. And, I was taking his daughter on the visits. Well, that created a relationship of respect for me and this guy. So when it was my turn, this guy stepped up and he asked me, he said, "Are you getting supervised visits?" And I said, "Yeah." So he said, "Give me her phone number." He called the lady. I hadn't seen my son in almost 3 years at that point. He made a phone call to her, to the lady who does the supervised visits, and he let her know that there's a pattern going on here, that she did the same thing to him. Well, guess what? That weekend, she called my son's mother and told her, "You're violating a court order, and I'm going to be forced to tell the courts that you're doing this on purpose." And that
Wow.
weekend was the first time I saw my son in almost 3 years. So that right there.
And that benediction, she not only did it to you, she also do it to her first baby father.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yes,
And
yes,
then
yes.
and then a lot of guys that are going through this on a daily basis, right? And that just don't no one to listen to and no one to hear them. They be like, well, father's not stepping up. But you are a father like her other baby father was willing to step up to the plate and the mom not willing to let him step up. From that day on, when the lady that does a supervised visit, does that change from that day on or continue?
Well, I had maybe 2 or 3 supervised visits
Mhm.
and they went very well. She could see they went very well. And after that, I started getting my visitation where it was every other week, every other weekend. I would get them, but I had to pick them up from a police station. And, over time, I said, listen, I'm tired of picking up my son at the police station. We need to come up with somewhere else.
Mhm.
So she came up with another precinct down in Midtown. I was picking him up there for a while, but then again, I said the same thing. I'm tired of picking this kid up at a police station, man.
I'm sorry, but why does she feel like she needs to have you picking up the baby at a police station versus, a family friend? I can understand that she may not want you to know where she lives, but versus a family friend house or even drop the baby off to your house, whichever one.
Well, that's because I had a history with her brother.
Okay. Yeah.
I had a history with her brother,
Mhm.
and now we weren't getting along. So, I mean, listen, sometimes when you're in that situation, people are going to use what's available to them to win.
Right, right, right. So they're gonna put the
Not always
abusive
going to do the
thing.
right thing. They're going to do what they got to do to win. That's just how it is, whether you get mad about it or not. That's the opposite side.
Mhm.
That's how it seems. But yeah, so I had a history of fighting with her brother. She used that to her advantage in the case.
Mhm.
So, I was picking up my kid at the police station for about 3 to 4 years. And then we started doing it in public places. And it's so crazy. Kanye West had this song about picking up his kid, going to pick up his kid for visitation. And they met at Borders. And at that time, I was picking up my son at Borders in 33rd Street by Penn Station. I'm hearing this song as I'm going. So, I always like Kanye West for that.
If you have to do that over again, what would you do different?
I'll tell you what, if I didn't do it, my son would not know who I am. He would just be meeting me or something right now.
Okay.
So I had to fight just to let him know that I'm his father. I had to fight to stay in his life, so he would know who I was. Because if we did it her way, he would definitely not know who I was.
Wow. And you
You
saying the court throw out your cases before. What was the reason why they throw it out?
Either sometimes you don't have enough paperwork, or maybe you were late and they called the case and you got to go back and, do the filing again.
Okay, so you say definitely have your paperwork. You tell them
Yeah, have your
have your paper.
paperwork tight. Have your
Okay.
paperwork tight. Um,
And
Keep a
then
job.
okay, be in time.
I mean, once you're in the system with this, however you behave, you're gonna have to tweak that because you have to stay clean because any little reason they'll use it against you in court. I'm telling you anything. You know what I mean? I don't care if you had a dirty sock on the floor. Get a picture of it and bring it to court. You know what I
Right, right.
mean?
How was it when it comes on to when you did get it, right? Did you have a support system that you could talk to about all this problem and all this thing that you're going through? Did you have someone there? Did you have okay, say you did have him, and is there any time that you have him on holidays or on summer?
Certain holidays I might have had them, like maybe July 4th and stuff like that. But trust me, a lot of times, like I could tell you, there was always a battle because at that point you're paying child support and stuff, and I'm just getting my visits. She'll do little vindictive things like send him to the visit with nothing to wear for the weekend, just with what he has on his back.
Wow.
And I already paid child support, so now I gotta go out and buy this guy more stuff, right? No problem. But I remember one specific time we went out. We were doing something on a Sunday. So I bought him some brand new clothes, bought him a nice pair of white sneakers, and white sneakers, those are like Sunday sneakers, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
We.
All right.
So I made the mistake of sending him home with them, letting her see I still take care of my kid regardless of what you're playing, what games you're playing, right?
Right.
So she sends him back 2 weeks later with the sneakers. They look like she marched him through the mud for 2 weeks. You
Wow.
know,
Mhm.
so I learned I had to buy clothes and keep them at my house because she's gonna send them with nothing. Like I said, at that point, you become opposition. I'm not here to like drag her through the mud or anything.
Okay. Well, I know, I understand what you're saying out here, but what is the experience and that you have, like you said in the court system, when you finally was able, and matter of fact, did you put her yourself in child support or she put you in child support before I go
She
to that?
did.
She
She
did.
did.
Okay.
Yeah.
But do you have the option? Do guys have the option to put themselves in child support before they do?
I was told you can go once the child is born, you can do something like that. But I don't know too many men that have done it that way.
Okay. So the court system now, once you got your paperwork together and you showed them, because I can recall you was going through this for years, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And it was
10 years.
also 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years I was going through this.
10 years to get in your son life.
Well, no, I got visitation, but there were times when she stopped bringing them again. Like there was times where she didn't bring them for over a year, sometimes 2 years, and I still had to bring her back to court. So I went through this maybe 5 or 6 times in 10 years.
Okay. And then what the court system did when she wasn't bringing them, and for 2 years you're not seeing your son, how did the court system handle that?
I was getting judges that weren't sympathetic to me until the end. At the end, I caught a judge that was fair
Mhm.
and looked at the situation and started listening to her story and finding holes in her story. And that was refreshing because, all these years I was the bad guy. And finally there was a judge who was willing to listen to my story and listen to her story. And she found the holes in her story. But what happened was, she found a way. First of all, certain things she wasn't supposed to do. Because at this point now, my son is almost nearly a teenager.
Mhm.
So, like I said, I've gone through this for 10 years. So at this point, there were certain things in the case that she wasn't supposed to discuss with him,
Mhm.
namely child support, right? So the last case in court, it seemed like things were going in my favor because at this point, I was going for custody,
Right.
right? So I was getting very close to where I thought I was going to win because they were doing home visits for her and she was denying them access to see where she lived. And then they had a private investigator on the case. They found 12 different addresses for her.
Wow.
And, it came down to if they don't show the residents that they started asking me questions like, are you going to be able to pick them up from school? And so I was this close to getting them.
Mm.
And I think she knew it. And she told him certain things about the case. And when he spoke, because in family court, the child has a lawyer too. They asked him if he wanted to come live with me. And he said, he told his lawyer, no, I don't like my father. I don't like how he talks about my stepfather.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. They made him say that to his lawyer.
Right? Wow. And
So
that
after
must have
that, we
hurt you.
stopped fighting, for a while. At that point, my son had gotten to an age where he could come visit me and call me on his own. And then I'd say from the age, most of high school and stuff, he didn't want nothing to do with me.
Wow.
And I was denied access to his high school graduation.
Mm.
Let's I've never even got a school picture from my son.
Wow.
Okay. I was denied kindergarten, all his graduations. He graduated from college, wasn't invited to that.
Mm.
None of that. You know, he's come to see me. We're building our relationship, but we had a lot of interference.
When you talk to him now, and does he knows about now that he's a man, the fight and all the stuff that you went through? Does he really knows about that? Does he? I know you said you won't, let him know not to talk bad to her, but let him know that son, listen, I fight for you.
as he's becoming a man, he's learning certain things and he's starting to see certain stories aren't matching up, I really believe.
Okay.
But more than that, it's like he's becoming a man and, I'm his father. I can give him the answers that he's looking for. So I get calls from him sometimes and, he comes around. We mostly bond about sports. He likes to talk about sports and stuff like that. So we got a good relationship. He's a good kid. Just wish he'd come around more. But, like I said, we had a lot of interference, man.
I know how much you love
I
your
know you know personally,
I
most, I know but
right, I know. And I at the time, like I said, I didn't even know that was your baby mother because I know her prior and I know the family prior. But I
right.
was there and it was a tough but 10 years and at no point what cost you not okay, you're saying the fact that he tell the judge that he didn't want to live with you, that's why you didn't get custody.
That's why I didn't get it.
This doesn't make any sense. That means the judge was that really wasn't with you. What did your lawyer have to say about that?
Well, it
'Cause
wasn't even the judge. It came down to, it was his word. Came down to, it was his word. You know what happened? I got a visit
Mhm,
around that time.
mhm,
I got a visit. You can watch this. I
mhm,
got a visit from my son's sister
mhm.
and her father.
Okay. Wow.
Now, at that time, there must have been something going on in the home, and the daughter wanted to move out to go live with her father. So her and her father came to visit me to let me know they had plans of moving to Rochester and taking my son up there.
Wow. Okay.
So again, see that relationship paid off.
Right.
Me and the guy's daughter, my son's sister, we always got along. She's,
Right, I remember her. I
you
remember
remember her, right? I
yeah,
was
I know.
love her to
And
death. You know what I'm
'cause
saying?
I thought she was your daughter at first, the way the bond that you
That's the
guys
way I
have
treated her. You
together.
know what I mean? That's the way I treated her.
Yeah, I
But
thought she was your daughter. I really did. Because the bond
yeah,
I see you guys have together, I if you didn't
yeah,
say anything, no
man.
one would know.
I love her very much. And eventually she went to go live with her father. You know what I'm saying?
Does she let her brother know
She
how
probably tries to, but I don't know. Unfortunately, I think there's
he's
some
brainwashed?
interference going on there too.
Right, right,
You
right.
know, and I'm just sitting here. I'm just giving you the nice version of
I
the nice version of the situation, because I'm not trying to come off bitter, or I'm not going to talk bad,
right.
because I'm talking about something that happened, 20 years ago, 15 years ago.
Yeah, but they know it still have a scar, right? It's
Yeah,
still
I have a
a
scar,
scar.
but I have somebody who's helping me with that.
Right. You have a beautiful family now, a wife that
Yes,
helped you heal
I have
through
a
that.
wife and young children now. That's fun. And my wife has helped me out a lot with that.
That's good. That's
So
good.
I'm not here as the bitter ex and nothing like that. I'm not gonna sit here and down their character, but I'm just trying to tell the nice version of my story. I'm not here angry and
And what would you tell guys that are going through the situation? Because you said for 10 years you was going through it. And they throw out your cases and it's years that you didn't see your son. I know at some point you felt like giving up, right? But you didn't give up. You stuck it out. You put it
yeah,
through. You still, even though you're paying your child support, right? A lot of
yeah,
people like, I'm paying my child support and I'm not seeing my kids. Forget it, right? And
yeah,
a lot of men will be like, you know what? Well, let her do it. She don't want me to stay. I just pay the child support. Forget it. It's either way, right? They pay the child support. They won't have nothing to do with it, or they don't pay the child support and stop working and be like, I'm not going to work. So I don't want to pay anything. What would you say to guys that are thinking those ways and thinking like, you know what? I'm not gonna do this. I can't do it. I've been struggling. I've been doing this for 2 months, for a year, for 2 years, 3 years, and I'm not seeing my kids. I'm not doing this. I can't do this anymore. And she's taking money from me, and I can't, and I don't have the opportunity to see my child. What would you tell them?
uh, I would advise them to stick with it, because it'll hit you one day. These kids don't stay kids forever, and they age out. you know. So if you stay on top of it, you stay current, you should be all right. I mean, as far as on paper, as far as like child support and stuff like that, you should be all right. As far as fighting in court and stuff like that, you gotta have to be patient. Any type of frustration is gonna work against you. and any show of anger is going to work against you. You have to be smart. You got to take your emotions out of the game, you know? And it's tough because that's your kid, your emotions is all tied into it. But as a man, you got to put your emotions to the side and handle this business. And you got to show up every time, because if you don't show up, they're going to throw your case out. You got to refile again, and you got to go through the whole process over again. So I'd say stay on top of things. Try to keep that relationship going with your child, even though through all of this, and definitely don't fall for the traps of trying to get you to show anger or, put your hands on them or anything like that. Anything like that is definitely going to work against you.
Is there any point that to protect you, that you had to call a cop for protection to show that you're not the one that's doing it? Is there any time that you have to get the police involved?
The only time I got the police involved was to serve her with the paperwork. I didn't ever really call the police on her.
Okay, so then okay.
Well, I was told to, but I just couldn't bring myself to do that. But
Okay, but what would you say to guys that, are thinking if they should do it or not in that case to protect themselves?
I would say, nowadays they have these Ring cameras and everything. So, I would say, try to have a Ring camera or dashboard cam, wherever the interaction is at. If you can film it or whatever. If you're in that type of tense situation, you want to have some type of documentation to back you up.
Okay.
Well, if you're in the legal system with this, you know what I mean? Sometimes people that are mature can handle this,
But then people that are in the legal system and going through this, they will be able to just advise and call the cops if you don't have the Ring camera, if you don't have anything. Would you tell them like, listen, call a cop just for protection to protect yourself? Because at the end of the day, safety first, right?
Well, yes, definitely safety first. It all depends on the situation and what they give you in court, because sometimes it may not be her delivering the child to you. It may be the grandparent. It may be the uncle, or it may be set up in court like that. So you're not always going to have a situation where you're dealing with them. You know what I mean? They might be doing little backbiting stuff in the background, but a lot of times, you just got to try to, as a man, just control your emotions, handle the business in front of you. And as tough as it sounds, but it ain't going to be forever. It ain't going to be forever. It's 21 years. It sounds like a long time, but I counted it yesterday. It's 252 months.
Wow. Wow.
From birth to 21 years old.
Wow.
You got to play the long game.
To the long game. And do you think the court system was fair to you at all? Did you think that if you were female, the court system would have been more in favor of you as a female than as a male? Do you think at any point the court system was fair to you? Like you said, when you meet that last judge, he was pretty fair, but prior.
That last judge was fair. That last judge was fair. Before that, I don't feel like I was getting a fair shake in court. But I did catch one judge that was sympathetic to my situation. It happened to be a lady judge, and family court in the Bronx. From what I understand, she got transferred to Queens, but she was a good judge. She was fair. She heard certain things that my son mother was trying to use, and she saw through it, which I appreciate, because everyone else, they can make you look like the bad guy, man. So you got to be careful of that. This is why you got to be able to control your emotions, because that one slip up can ruin everything. And then I've seen cases where, because let's not get it twisted. There are guys that are out here and they're doing the wrong thing and they get every chance in the world. It's the guys who care and that are trying to do the right thing that they give the hardest time. You got some guys out here that ain't trying to see their kids. And the court will find them and say, here, you have a kid. I don't want this. You got a kid. All right. Then they take them, You've seen it. We know people like that,
I know.
So it's the guys that fight for theirs, and they're going to give you a hard time. Those are the guys that get on child support. Those are the guys that are in court.
So, like you said, our closing remarks would be: get your paperwork together, always fight. It's just fight for your kids and do what you got to do as a man, right?
As a
Stick
man,
it
like,
out.
when you
Stick
get,
it out.
and even if you lose, you get knocked down, you get back up. That's how you should be thinking.
That's for that child, because that kid's gonna need you. Either when that kid grow up, they're gonna see eventually, right? They're gonna see the truth. Like you said, they don't stay small forever. They don't stay a baby forever. They don't stay a toddler, a teenager. They don't stay that forever. And
Yeah,
eventually,
and when it comes to needing your father, for both kids, this is true, but especially for boys, having a father is the cheat code
mm,
to life. You have somebody that's been there already and can tell you. And we're not taught to look at it that way. I try to tell these young guys out here, they tell me, oh, my father's this, is father. Listen, man, listen to your father. Your father is the cheat code. Watch him, because that's what you're going to be dealing with.
yeah, never heard
You
of
know what I mean?
father's a cheat code to life. Okay. A
Yes.
good father is a cheat code to life.
Definitely a good father is a cheat code to life. Look at my man Stanley over there.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's
He's a cheat code. He's
yeah,
a
he
gamer too.
definitely definitely is. Definitely is. I want to say thank you for being a guest on Childcare Challenges and Dilemma and Daycare. And you know what? It's good. It's really good that we have guys and you stuck it out. And now that you're building a relationship again with your son, and he's going to appreciate every moment of it.
I hope so.
He is. He's going to see because he's going to have a child and he's going to be a father one day. He's going to be a
Yeah,
dad.
he's a good kid. He's a
He
good kid.
is. He is.
Already.
And what's his major? What he's studying for
But
now?
he went for law.
A law. Okay.
Yeah, law.
Go ahead. Okay.
Yeah, he's gonna be a defense lawyer one day.
I know you're proud of him.
That's all him. He did all that work himself. He's
But no, it's not all him. It
yeah.
came from even the fight that you put in that you may not see, right? Because it takes somebody to do it. He may not speak with you, but he hear it and he see it. And then he finally know like what's the court system? What's this? What does that have? He's seeing it. It comes from somewhere. Some motivation is something driving to that path.
I'll tell you what, that paperwork still exists. He can go in the courts and he can go find it himself and see exactly what went down.
Exactly. And he is.
And he works in the courts.
He's gonna see. And he's gonna be
So,
like,
we'll see what happens. But I won't badmouth anybody,
No,
at
no,
this
I know,
point in
but I'm
life.
telling you, he will see for himself, right? My mom always tell me, don't ever talk bad about the dad. The kid's gonna grow up and they're gonna see for themselves, right? No matter what you and the father go through, don't say anything bad about him. Let them,
And exactly, that's all I'm trying to do in the reverse.
right? That's what
You know what
I'm
I'm saying? Same exact thing.
exactly. Okay.